Hey, welcome everyone to Caspio Live. This is Ned. Let me know that you can hear me okay via chat. That way I know that the audio is working and we can begin with today's presentation of building a SaaS application. So if you are able to hear me, please let me know in the chat window. I hope everyone's having a good Wednesday. You can hear me? Excellent. Hey, name. Hey, Steven, welcome back. Good to see you as well. See you. Hey, Judith, long time. Maybe you're here, you just don't comment, but I haven't seen you comment in a while. So welcome back. Yeah, today we have an exciting application, at least in my opinion. Building a SaaS application is my favorite. I've built quite a few over time, and I really enjoy building these types of applications because it's fun to solve problems, for people. What's the incentive that your application provides for people to come back, to log in, and continue using your application? And if it's big enough, you can potentially monetize by charging a small monthly fee, or you can offer it completely as a freemium model. Like maybe Facebook or X, former Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, and then eventually you figure out a way to make money, maybe through ads or some other way, because you got to keep up with the infrastructure costs and all of that stuff. So. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed thinking about and building. I am an entrepreneur myself, so I definitely enjoy creating these types of applications. And for today's use case, it's basically a clone, a scaled down clone of Craigslist. I don't know how many of you have used Craigslist in the past. I have when I was younger, mainly to sell cars and look at cars and things like that. But obviously, there are other categories that you can look into as well. But yeah, this is the application we're going to look into creating today. I have my small demo here prepared to show you before we build it out. And like I said, it's a scaled down version of the app because we get 1 hour for these live streams. And with me explaining things, it's really hard to build a robust, comprehensive solution, but at least you have the foundation in place and you can always expand upon it. So let me give you a quick demo of what we're building today. So today we have a very simple marketplace app where people can sign up, log in, be able to create listings by filling out a form. All of your typical stuff that you would see: title, price, what category does it belong to. We have the condition. We have description of the product that you're selling. You can add some photos, and then finally you can flag it as active, which means it's going to be posted to the listings, public listings, so people can look at it. You can flag it as sold or canceled if no one's buying it, let's just say. You can also update an existing listing. So if it's, let's say it's already posted, it's in the public directory, you can make updates to it. You can take it out. You can flag it as sold. And then we have an inbox. If anybody does want to purchase your item, they can send you a message, and then you can see your entire inbox of who's sending you messages, and you can contact the buyer, potential buyer, and work out a deal. In this case, it's going to be outside of the platform. You could also create a messaging system inside, but for that to work, the buyer will need to create an account as well, and that adds another layer of complexity to the app that I decided to avoid. So I am keeping it more Craigslist style, where all the communication happens outside of the app via email. So you get the buyer's email, and then you can communicate outside of the app. And then on the public side, please don't mind my very basic design here. You can make things look much better, but I have one listing here available where we can see this vehicle. I can read the description, condition, and if I am interested, I can send this seller a message, my name, my email, click submit, and they'll be able to retrieve that message directly from here. As a new user, if you wish to sign up, you can click here, and then you can create your own account. You get to activate your account via email, and then you can also now log in and be able to post listings of your own. Yeah, I do always go over and out. Thanks for calling me out on that. Yeah, we've gone like maybe 20 to 30 minutes past 1 hour just because I want to finish the app and I don't want to finish the app in the next session. And I don't really time myself during these live streams when I practice and I build the app. I'm just assuming that I'll be able to complete everything within an hour. But I tend to ramble on and talk about things outside of the actual scope of the video. But anyway, let's dive right into it. I think we have about 7 or 8 app pages to create and a few forms. Let's go through our tables like we normally do. We don't build tables in the live stream because that's going to take too long, but I will go over each table so that you can see the design and the schema of this database app. And most of these are lookup tables that you see here. So let's go over the lookup tables really quickly. We have categories. Very simple lookup table that we link to our dropdowns. That way we don't have to spend time adding custom values. So we simply look into a table and we are instantly able to see all of these options available within that lookup table. Okay, so that's categories. We have condition, new, used like new, and used. We also have the status lookup, pending, active, sold, or canceled. And finally, we have all of our main tables. So we have the user table. This will be a directory that the user will self-register into and be able to use the app. We have our items. So we have the primary key, item ID. We have member ID, which is a foreign key to the directory table. So as soon as one of the members posts an item, we want to stamp their ID so that we know who is selling that item. And then you have title, price, category, all of the typical fields that you would find inside this table, date created, and status. We have our inquiries table, which is messages. So we have inquiry ID. We have the listing ID. So what message for what listing. And then you have the member ID. We want to know what member is getting that message so that we can filter our data. And then the sender name, email, message, and date sent. And did I miss a table? We have items. No, that's all the tables. So once you build out all of your tables, I always like to go into the roles and define what roles my application is going to have. I know that the app will have a public role, okay, because we have a public listing of all of the items. We want to be able to register, and we also want to be able to send a message to our sellers. So let's open up the public role and figure out some permissions here. So are we going to be able to create items on the public side? Yes, because we want to send a message to the seller. So we want to flag this as yes. Do we have the ability to read anything on the public side? Yes, because we want to be able to see all of the listings that are for sale. No need to update and no need to delete anything. So let's just hit save. And that's all we have to do for our public permissions. Let's go back to the roles tab and then click on create a role, and let's call this one members. Anyone who signs up is going to be able to log in, and now we have permissions for what the members can do. Let me select my directory. I called it Flex SaaS, I believe. Yeah, this one here. And as you can see in parentheses, there are currently 0 registered members. So we're going to test everything out once we build the app. Click create. And then into permissions, the members will be able to create listings. So we want to flag this as yes, but we don't want them to be able to read all records. As a member, I only want to see the items that I'm selling. I don't need to see somebody else's. Okay, that's what RLS comes in, record level security. So what you want to do here is set up custom permissions. And the first one we're going to include is going to be the items table. And the second one, inquiries, because we need to be able to see just the messages that are linked to our ID. I don't need to see somebody else's messages that they're getting. So we'll click add. And now to override the default permissions up here, we simply go to custom permissions. Let's find the items table first. So yes, we should be able to, you don't actually have to, well, you do have to click yes here as well, because we need to be able to create items. Because if you leave it as no, it overrides the default permission. So we still need to click yes here. Then we have all records. As I said, we need to be able to see just our own listings. So we go to user's own records and we choose member ID that are linked to our unique ID. Okay, so we only see the listings that we are posting. Do we want to update? Sure, but let's update just based on our own member ID. So if you're updating a listing, just for security, we want to make sure we're only updating listings that are linked to our ID. And then for inquiries, users own records, member ID. Once again, I just need to be able to see the messages that are linked to my ID. And then it's up to you if you want them to be able to update messages. That's completely up to you. And it's also up to you if you want them to be able to delete any messages. And yeah, I think we should be able to delete some messages if it's spam or something like that. All right, I'm good with those permissions. Here we can now click Save. And now we can navigate over to Designer to begin developing our application. The first thing I always like to do is add as many app pages as I can think of that my application is going to need. You don't have to do it like I am doing it, but you can immediately create all of your app pages, which are essentially your web pages, where you're going to be adding all of your forms and reports. So for the first one, I don't like this default name, new app page, so I will just rename that to say Search Marketplace. And you'll be able to see how it's renamed in the navigation menu. So the first one will be Search Marketplace. Then I'm going to add send a message or message seller. Let's just say send a message to seller. And for the third one is going to be sign up. We want anyone to be able to sign up and use our application. For both of these, we're going to flip these to be overlay windows, which are pop-ups. Okay. So for send a message, that's going to be an overlay window. And then for sign up, this is also going to be an overlay window. Now to clean up my navigation menu, we click on the segment name. And as you can see, we have Search Marketplace. That's great. I want people to be able to click on that link. No need to see a send a message because we're going to be able to send a message directly from a listing. So if I'm looking at an item that I want to buy, there'll be a hover over button that I can click on that says send a message. So there's no need for that to be part of our main navigation menu. So you simply click on the nav menu and you hide send message. Now sign up, I want that to be as part of my main navigation menu. Okay, makes sense, right? If I'm at this page and I see sign up, I want to be able to post my listing. So I will be able to click on that link at the very top. Okay. All right. Now I do have a just a made up arbitrary logo that I can use for this application, which I created in ChatGPT, but let's just not waste time on that. If you want your own logo to be up here, just click on it, click on select, and just use the logo that you come up with, and it's going to replace this one up here. All right, so the next thing we want to do is to create this ability to sign up. All right, so we need to create a submission form that allows anyone to be able to register into a directory. So now that we have the overlay window, which is a pop-up, we can click on Add Elements. And you don't want to just select Submission Form. There is a special data part at the very bottom for user management, which is called Sign Up Form. So you want to select that. Click on your directory. So this is the directory that we created in advance. And then we have first and last name that we're going to include inside the submission form. And by default, these are the mandatory fields, email and password. Those are going to be part of our sign up form. We click next. And now we just need to configure our fields. So let's move first name at the very top, last name underneath that. For first name, maybe, yeah, we definitely want to make this field required, meaning they have to fill that in. And for my label appearance, I'm a big fan of using float labels. So let's do that. Same thing for the last name. Make that field required. And then we have the email field. You can do things like add confirmation field if you want them to make sure they input the correct email. But I think that's an overkill. So let's just do floating label. Password. I do like to have a confirmation for my password field because I want to make sure they put the same password twice before they register. And then we'll just do a floating label there as well. For the roles, anybody who signs up, I want them to be automatically assigned to a member role. Okay, so we check this box right over here. And because I don't have any groups created, we're just going to take that out from the submission form. We don't need that. Okay, so now we're going to hit save. And we should be able to see that submission form. We have first name, last name, email, password. Couple of things to clean this up. Let's go ahead and rename the data part. So select your data part and always name your data parts. Okay, so let's call this public, and then we're going to call this members sign up. Okay, and then let's select the app page and click manage. And just so that we can rearrange these buttons to be side by side, we're going to hit save. And now we have both of these two buttons side by side to sign up and close. Okay, it just cleans things up a little bit so the buttons are not on top of each other. They're side by side. All right, so now that we have this overlay window created along with the submission form, what we could do is go back to this page and make the sign up, the behavior of the sign up link to open up that overlay window. Okay, so what we're going to do here is simply click on the public access. Let me think there for a second. How do I get this? Why am I just did this recently. How do I get that link to open up my overlay window? Hold on a second. I'm drawing a blank here. This is embarrassing. Give me a second. Click on the segment, sign up, search marketplace. How do I get that to open up my overlay window? I have that in my public here on the, you can see it right over here. I'm just like drawing a blank now. I'm confusing myself a little bit here. Why am I not able to? It's not search marketplace. It should be up here. So why is it not opening up? Well, this is embarrassing. Why am I not able to figure this out? Search marketplace. No, that's the app page. It's got to be up here, right? Sign up. Menu structure, sign up. I might have to go back to my other app. I apologize. Give me a second. I don't know why I'm struggling with this at the moment. Sign up menu. Well, this is interesting. There is a way to click on this in the navigation menu, but for some reason I'm drawing a blank right now in order to open up the overlay window. Sign up. Okay, let me see. Overlay window, sign up app page. Send message, search marketplace public. Well. All right. You know what? Let me go to my other application and see how I did that, because for some reason I can't figure out how to do that. It's a little bit embarrassing that I am unable to do that at the moment. Search marketplace. Sign up. I apologize. I really do apologize. I'll move on here in a second. I'm just trying to figure out if I can remember how to get it to open up the actual. Maybe it's already working. Let's just deploy it and see if it's already set up in such a way. So let's go ahead and deploy all of these, and let's go to search marketplace. We can take a look at. Yeah, it's already linked to it. So my bad. I apologize. It's already linked to it by default, so it opens up that sign up form. All right. 5 hours later. Anyway, let's go back to Designer and continue developing. So now that we have the sign up, what we can do is set up something in the members portal where they log in and they will be able to search the listings that they're selling and be able to post new listings. Because at the moment, I can't really create anything else until we have some sample data in our application so that we can view and see what this looks like. So under members, let's add some app pages here. Let's have items that we're selling. Let's have my inbox, update listing, and new listing so that we can create a new listing. All right. So let's clean up the navigation menu a little bit. So click on the segment name and which one of these can be hidden. So selling needs to be visible, my inbox, and then these two we can hide. New listing and update listing. Because the way you get to those app pages, since they're going to be overlay windows, is by clicking inside either the record row or the details page in order to open up those overlay windows. So new listing will be an overlay window and update listing will also be an overlay window. All right, so now for selling, let's have the ability to search the items that we're selling and be able to see the list of items that we're selling. So we will create an element here. So search form, let's move that into our app page. And we want the ability to search based on the items table. And let's search based on title. And maybe we can search based on status. Keep it simple. You can include multiple search fields if you'd like. For title, floating label. For status, floating label. We'll just flip this to a drop-down and have this be a lookup table that we created, which contains all of our statuses. And then I always like to sort by none because I want the options to appear as they appear in my table. So I always select none here. Click Save, and we should be able to see the search form. Let's resize this a little bit to make it less wide so that we have more space for our tabular report. Always name your data parts. Get into a habit of doing that. Members, search items. And then let's add a heading to our search form. We'll just call it filter. Okay. Now let's create the ability to see the listing of all the items that we're selling. So add elements, tabular report, move that into our app page based on the items table. And the information that we want to be able to see is maybe the photo. Let's see all 3 photos or pictures. Let's see the status of the item. Let's do title, price, category, condition. You can even include description and date created. I'm happy with that. Click next. You can change your labels to say something else if you'd like, maybe just photo 1, photo 2, so that we can get rid of the preview in the label. Status, title, price, category, condition. For description, because it's going to be long text, I covered this off in the previous live streams. You can go to appearance and say fixed width, maybe 250 pixels. Because if you don't do that, if you leave it as auto, it's going to be long text and it's not going to look good in your tabular report. But this way, you restrict the column width, and then when you hover over, you can see as a pop-up the remaining text. It's a little bit cleaner in my opinion. And then we'll just hit save. All right, it's going to say no results found because we don't have any sample data just yet. Let's rename this data part to read members. Filter items or item listing. All right, and let's also include a heading. Let's just call it results. So we have filter and results. Now let's go to new listing because when I look at my items that I'm selling, what I want is a button up here that says maybe new listing. That way I can post a new listing that I'm selling. So let's go to this app page that's an overlay window. And let's include a submission form. And that's going to be based off of the items table. And I'm likely going to need all of these fields. So let's select them all. Member ID, title, price. Yep, we're going to need all of these fields. Click next. For member ID, that doesn't need to be visible. So we just make that field hidden. And then we use insert parameter, auth user field, user GUID. Okay, so it automatically stamps when you submit that form. Like insert. All right, so just imagine this field is hidden on the submission form, but as you submit the form, we stamp the user's ID into the items table so that we know who was the member that submitted that listing. Then we have title, likely going to be a required field. Price, a lot of these are going to be required fields, maybe even category. For category, we do have a lookup table, so we can link our lookup table of categories. None. Condition, we also have a lookup table, so set that to be a drop down and then choose the condition lookup table. None. Description is going to be a text area. And then you have all of your photo fields. And for status, we also have a lookup table that contains all of our status options. All right. And, if you want to, change the label position, you can. I like to make all of my labels be floating labels. I think it's a much better design, but it's up to you in terms of how you want to arrange that. Save. All right, there's my new listing form. I always like to clean up my buttons, so click on the app page, click on manage here, and just move the submit button ahead of the close button, and just like that. Next, name your data part. Always get into a habit of naming your the data parts. That's best practice. Members, new listing. And now we need to connect this app page with this one. So you go back to selling, and the type of behavior, or in terms of UX and UI, I like to create a button up here under header controls. Click add. Let's call this new listing. And then the action is going to be open an app page, which is new listing overlay window. And then the label of my button will just simply say no, a new listing. Click save. And now you will see that button. And what's going to happen is when you click on that button, it's going to open up this overlay window right here in the middle for you to be able to post a new listing. All right, so let's not test it out just yet. Let's continue building, and then we'll come back, and then we're going to test everything out once it's completed. All right, so we have this. Now we need update listing. Oh, before I do anything else here, let's make sure we set our filters, right? If I have the ability to search based on title and status, currently it won't work until I set my filters here. So we need to set the filter on the results page. So we're searching based on title, contains, data part field, selling, title. For those of you who are new to Caspio, we set up these filters to use contains in this case because it's an open text field. And as you type, let's say you type title, maybe car, and you hit search, it's going to return all of the results that contain those letters, or in this case, that word car. Okay, so that's the idea behind these filters. All right. And then we need one more for status. And that's going to be is equal to, it's not contains because it's a dropdown. It's giving you static options that you can select. So it has to equal to one of the options that you select in the dropdown. Data part field, selling, status. And that's it. Click save. Now, the search will work with the results because we set up these two filters. Okay. All right, let's see what's next. Let's set up update listing. So we go to this overlay window. We say add elements. And this time we want the update form based on the items table. And you are going to be updating title, price, category, condition, description, photos, not date created, and status. So now for each one of these fields that you see on the left-hand side, you'll notice that by default, it's set to display only. In other words, read only. But we want the ability to update. Unfortunately, I know the team is working on being able to do a mass update across all the fields on a global level. But at the moment, we have to select one field at a time, and we have to choose text field. That's going to be a required field. You don't want to leave that empty. Price, text field. Likely going to be a required field. Category, and you can see where I'm going with this, right? Category. So we have to, each field one at a time, we have to update it to make sure it's updatable. Condition, drop down, lookup table, condition. Description will be a text area. And then we have the photos. Those are fine. And then we have status is going to be a drop down, lookup table, status lookup table. There it is. Done. And then if you like, you can go to your appearance tab and just make all of your labels floating labels as the last thing that you want to do. Okay, it just takes, well, I wouldn't say it takes too long, a couple of minutes to make all of these changes. And then once you're done, you never have to worry about it again. Click save. All right, it's going to say no results found even in the preview here because we have no sample data currently in any one of our tables, but it is set up correctly. Now let's name our data part, members, update listing. All right, and you will want to just move your update button to be ahead of the close button because later on, once you see the update button, it's going to be next to the close button. All right. Now what I want is to go back to selling. And then what we want to add here is under record controls, because when you see all the listings and you hover over each listing, I want to be able to see an update button to be able to link to my overlay window here. So under record controls, you click add and say edit listing. And you will see how it all comes together. So open the app page, which is update listing, and let's just call this edit listing and hit save. You won't see it now, but when you actually test out the application in production, you will see what items you're selling. And then when you hover over each row, you will see a button that pops up that says edit listing. When you click on that button, it's going to open up this overlay window for you to update that specific listing. Now, one thing that I did forget to do is you have to make sure you set the filter on this data part, okay? Because in order for you to update that listing that you clicked on, you have to make sure you're updating the listing for that specific item ID. So you select the data part, click set filter, create, and then choose item ID is equal to data part field, items that we're selling, listing, item ID, and click save, and save again. You learn this very quickly. I know it could seem like a daunting task if you're new to Caspio, but it's actually super simple to set that up. You just have to remember, and you will eventually when you're testing out your application and you see that, wait, I'm not looking at the right listing when I clicked on it. That's because you didn't set the filter. Now that we set the filter for the item ID, each time you click on a new listing in your results page, you will be able to see that, that listing that you clicked on. So we have to set up that filter. All right, let's go to my inbox and let's add elements and let's just do tabular. You could also do a search here as well if you'd like, but let's just speed things up a little bit. And that's going to be based on the inquiries table. And the information we want to see in the results page will be the sender name, listing ID, because I would like to know for what listing did I receive that message for. You know, am I selling a car? Did I get a message for that? Am I selling maybe a camera? Who sent me a message for the camera? Things like that. Sender's email, message itself, and date sent. All right, so let's put listing ID at the very top. Name, email, message, date sent. That's perfect. Hit save. All right, no results found. Makes sense because we don't have any sample data, but we will be testing this out shortly. Let's name the data part members, my inbox. All right, so I think we're all done with the members side. We have completed everything. Now what we want is to complete everything on the public side. And so far, only thing I have is sign up form. So what we're going to do next is create the ability to search everything publicly. Okay, because I want, just like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, you can search based on title, maybe search based on condition, if it's new or used, things like that. So let's add elements and let's include the search form based off of the inquiries table. And we want to search based on title and maybe based on condition and based on category. Perhaps we have 3 different search fields. Yeah, click next. Title, again, I'll just change my to floating labels, and floating labels. However, these two, we're going to flip these to be drop downs. So just look up table condition and category, drop down, look up table, category. All right, click save. And that's how easy it is to build a search form. We'll just call this filter, or maybe we can call this search marketplace as our heading. Now it looks squished here in the preview mode because in preview in Caspio, there's only so much space we get. But once you publish, Everything will be stretched out because you no longer see this panel on the right. You don't see any of the internal components of Flex. Everything will be full width stretched out, so this will fit just nice. And you learn that over time as you begin developing in Caspio. All right, now we need the results page. So let's click add elements and let's go maybe with the card layout. Card is usually good if you're displaying images on the results page. Tabular is more rows and columns if you have short answers, but I like card for listings. So let's do that. Once again, based off of the items table. And what I want is to display the title, the price, category, condition, description, and I want all the photos so I can view them. Now, there are a number of different ways of organizing how the information is displayed in both the results page and the details page. And I'll make a point of that in just a moment once we build this out, okay? And I think that's all I want to display. We'll click next. Title category. Of course, you can always change out your labels. I mean, I'll probably say no label because a photo is self-explanatory. There's no need for a label. And when we have description, category, price, and what you can do is probably maybe put all of the labels on top. That might look nice. We'll see. Right. Addition, description, click save. We won't be able to see it just yet because I don't have any sample data. Now I will actually set this results page, this grid or card layout to be, let me see, columns 4. I'll set this to 4, maybe 3. We'll see later on what it looks like. And the reason why I set it to 3 columns is because I want to be able to see 3 listings side by side. So that's why I have 3 columns. If you look at my live example, from earlier, you can see how I have either, I think it's 4 here, but it makes one listing appear this way, and then if I had another one, it will be right next to it. Okay, because if you don't do that, let's say you leave it as auto or 1 column, it's just going to stretch this out, and then you see another one underneath that, and it won't look as good, I think. Better probably to fit more items. Now, what I was saying about the way you display things in the results page, you don't have to include the photos in the results page if you don't want to. Like, you can actually click on another button that says details or view listing details. It'll take you to a details page where you can organize the layout a little bit more. You can also do more custom stuff if you'd like. A lot of these listings have smaller thumbnail images. Imagine these 3 cars are smaller images side by side. You can do things like click on the image to have a light box appear, and then you can, like a carousel, you can go back and forth to view those images. So if you want to do something fancy like that, that requires a little bit of customization. It's possible, but it doesn't come out of the box. Okay, but it is doable. And it's not really that much more complex to add that to your application if you needed it. All right, let's continue. So we have our results page. Let's go ahead and set up our filters now. And before I forget, let's name our data parts. So we'll call this public search marketplace. And then we'll call this one listing public result listings. As you can see, I always like to add my prefix depending on the segment that I'm in. When it comes to naming my data parts, I always like to include public, hyphen, and then the name of the data part. That's just my preference because if I'm copying app pages or if I'm moving things around, it's easier for me to note this and know exactly what data part that is. All right, let's set up our filters. Create a filter. The first one will be title, contains, because it's a text field. Just talked about this a moment ago. Title. Add filter for condition, because we're searching based on condition, is equal to data part field, condition. Our third filter is going to be category, is equal to data part field, category. And there's one more filter here that we need to include, okay, which is interesting because it doesn't show up here in the search form because we set up all 3 filters for these 3 search fields. But there is one more because the public listing needs to only filter out the items that are active. Okay, because if the item is sold, I don't want that to show up in my public listings. Okay, so it needs to be active. So we set the status is equal to, and then what you're going to do is set the static value to active. All right, so if in the table this item is active, display that in the public listings. However, anything else, it's not going to be displayed, which we have pending, we have sold, and we have canceled. So if it's any one of those other statuses, it won't be displayed in the public listing. When I say pending, I don't mean sale is pending. I meant the user is still modifying the listing before they publish it. That's what I meant by pending. Okay. I don't want there to be any confusion about that. So we'll hit save. All right. So now our filters work correctly. And now what we want is send a message. So from that listing, if I'm looking at that vehicle or that camera or some Lego, I want to be able to see a button that allows me to send a message to the seller via this form. But we don't have the form created yet. So let's add elements, submission form, inquiries, listing ID, member ID, sender name, email, and message. Click next. Listing ID will be a hidden field. Insert parameter, data part field. Search marketplace, result listing, item ID. I should have called it item ID to make it will make more sense, but I called it listing ID here in the inquiries table. Okay, so now it's a hidden field, but when you click on the actual item, it's going to feed the listing ID or the item ID to our inquiries table because we want to know what listing is receiving a message. We also want to know for what members. So we make this field hidden. Insert parameter, data part field, result listing, member ID. Okay, both of these two fields will be hidden. Sender name, likely to be a required field. Sender email, required field. And message, text area, required field, label and floating, click save. Okay, we're almost done. Let's put our buttons side by side. Done. And let's go ahead and connect now our search marketplace by adding record controls and saying send message, open app page, send message, send message. All right, now it doesn't look good because we don't have any sample data, but we are about to add some sample data because I believe the entire application is completed. Now we can test the whole thing out. I just want to make sure that everything works correctly. Let me just go through it really quickly. We have the filters set. We also have active filters set on this data part. We have send a message. So when I click here, it's going to open up this form. Let me name my data part. Public send a message. Right. Okay, we have all of that set up correctly. We have our sign up form. We have selling. We have the filters set. Very important. My inbox done. Update listing done. I also have the filter set on this as well. And then for new listing, does not need a filter because we're just posting a new listing. All right, let's deploy everything. We can do bulk deployment. Deploy everything. All right, so how is this going to work? Let's go back and let's close all of these tabs. And let's start fresh. All right, so here I am. I'm at this. Imagine we have multiple people signed up already, multiple listings listed here on the page. And I would like to, oh, there is one thing that I forgot to do, actually, very important, because I need the ability to sign in as well. Let's say I signed up. Where's my button to sign in, right? So let's come back here into our designer. Click on public access, click on the profile, and you just have to select a directory here, because if you don't do that, you're not going to see that sign in link, okay, for the menu structure. You don't see it because you haven't chosen your directory yet. So anybody who signs up into that directory will be able to sign in eventually. Okay, so that's important. That's why we don't see it just yet, but we will see it now. All right. So let me go ahead and post my own listing. Let me sign up. We'll say, we'll just use my information here. Ned at Caspio.com. We'll just say testing, 1, 2, 3, exclamation, testing, 1, 2, 3, exclamation, and click sign up. All right, now I have to activate my account. So I should receive an email here. I didn't think about this. Hopefully the email comes in here in just a moment. There it is, perfect. So let me bring that into the view. There it is. Let me activate my account. Okay, your account was activated. You will be redirected to the sign-in page. So now let's sign in as Ned at Caspio.com. Testing, 1, 2, 3, exclamation. And, oh, there is a way to bypass this. This allows you to, let's say you had multiple applications in your account as this member now. You can access multiple applications. Maybe you're offering multiple products, one of them being the Marketplace app. Okay, so let's go in there. And now, here's my portal. Of course, you can make it much more robust. You could have a dashboard so that the user sees charts, how well they're selling, how much money they're making, all of that can be done. But I will simply create a new listing here. Red car, price 15,000, category vehicles. We'll say condition used, description, beautiful car. I highly recommend to anyone. I don't know. Just making things up. Now I will just really quickly. There's no way to pause the live stream. I said, well, give me a second, because I don't really know what's gonna open up here. So I'm just gonna drag my images here. 1, 2, and 3. All right, those are my images for the car. Status, yeah, I'm happy with what I put in here. Let's go to make it active. Hit submit. All right, so now you can see I'm selling one item. It's currently active, which means on the public side, anyone's going to be able to look at that listing. Perfect. You can change the size of these images. They're huge. If I want to update the listing, I could. So I can say, beautiful car, I highly recommend to anyone. Contact me if you have any questions, because currently that's not available in the description. So if I do update that item, okay, now it automatically updates here on the public side as well. If I want to take down the listing, I can maybe put it back as pending. Maybe I'm not happy with it. I want to modify it some more. I can flag it as sold or canceled. We're not going to do that. Now my inbox currently doesn't have any messages, but because we have this button here that links to the overlay window, we're going to say John Doe at buyer.com. Can you send me more pictures of the interior, please? Oh, we hit submit. There we go. We'll come back to our inbox. And there it is. There's my message. Okay. Now for the listing ID, this is one of the things that always happens in my live streams. Obviously, what is this listing? I have no idea what ID that is. And that's a really quick and easy fix. You go to your tables, you open up the relationships, and this will be between the messages or inquiries and the items. So we expand these tables. And we link these two tables via the, I believe, let me think, listing ID. So listing ID, and now here in the settings, you can display the title of the actual listing and use that title as display value on both data pages if you're using the Bridge framework, or data parts if you're using the Flex framework, which in this use case, I'm using the Flex framework. So we hit create. Okay. Of course, you can link all of your other tables here as well. But when I refresh now, I should be able to see the listing name, which is that red car. All right. Let's see. Go back to selling. Of course, you can sell multiple items by creating a listing. But again, this is, like I said, this is a very scaled down version of the app, but it's functional. Now, if somebody wants to use it, they can, and they have access to that link, they can sign up. log in, be able to post their own listings. People can look at public listings that are available, send messages, and it's fully self-functioning. You don't need to manage anything. It just manages itself because users can sign up, log in, do all of these things. You can also do cool things like sending email notifications, because if somebody does send a message to a seller, you want to also notify them via email. Hey, somebody just sent you a message. Log in so that you can take action on that. But this is it. This is the entire app. Let me see if there are any questions that are coming in. I closed the window. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. It's a simple SaaS application for managing listings and posting them, like a classifieds, basically. And I try to mimic a little bit of Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. But again, please remember, this is a very scaled down version. You can create much more cooler things if you'd like. For instance, on the public side, maybe what you do is kind of like Craigslist, where you see links for different classifieds like cars, toys, furniture, things like that. Instead of seeing that inside a search form like this, which also works, maybe in your navigation menu, you have a parent navigation menu that says available marketplace categories. And when you hover over, you see a drop down of, let's say, vehicles or toys or furniture. And when you click on it, it just opens up a report that displays those items without you having a manual search here. So it's just click-based in the navigation menu rather than using a drop-down. Something like that. Like, let me just go to Craigslist so that you can see. See for sale. So here we could say for sale. And then when you hover over, you see different categories. And when you click on the category, it just shows you those items without seeing the search form. So if you wanted to do something like that, like Craigslist, you could. Okay. Just imagine Craigslist had a search drop-down here that lists all of these for sale categories, and then the user has to manually select that from the drop-down. Your thrift online store? Yeah, I might be a buyer, depending on what you're selling. So. I should put my face in the car window? I don't think anyone's buying that then. The good one. I'll Photoshop myself in next time. Easy to do. I've done something like that before for friends, just as a joke. It's a good idea, though. All right. So thank you so much for attending today's live stream. King Capo, as you can see today, we kept it under an hour. So hopefully that's acceptable for you. I don't mind staying past 1 hour. It just depends on the audience if you all have the time to stay as well. All right. Thanks, Didier. Appreciate it. I still owe you an email. I haven't forgotten, Didier, so don't worry. Okay. Eventually I will get to it. It's just that I've been cranking out a lot of videos. You may have noticed on our YouTube channel, almost one video per day goes public, So hopefully it's not bombarding your inbox or inundating your inbox too much with all of these videos that are going live on our YouTube channel. Plus, we did some cleaning and organizing. We had to take down some of the older videos where the UI and UX is outdated. And we have to always refresh these videos with new content because the platform does change over time. So new UX and UI updates, because we did receive a lot of not negative feedback, but just people saying like there's some outdated videos. I don't recognize the current version of Caspio with these videos that are maybe like 4 or 5 years old, so we had to republish some older videos that we had. I don't mind. I mean, I love what I do. Every day I come in and I create some videos for people, and hopefully people enjoy the content. So that's, at the end of the day, the takeaway is if people are happy, I'm happy, and we're good to go. If anybody has any suggestions for videos on what you would like to see on our YouTube channel, I'm always happy to take suggestions, okay? So if there's something specific that you're not sure how to do, whether it's the standard feature or outside the standard features, I'm happy to do the video on that. Just shoot me an email. Okay, I'll let you know if I'll be able to work on it and when. Okay, but again, here's my email. Always take requests, whether it's for the live stream or a one-off video that we push to our YouTube channel. Okay. And I encourage you to send me an email with the video request, because even I, admittedly, am running out of ideas. Because we've done literally just about everything. I have a video on everything. You ask me for something, there's a video available on that. It's just that it might be outdated and we have to redo the video, So it's hard, Anyway, I won't keep you any longer. I'll keep the chat running in another minute or two. I'll close myself, and then if there's any questions, let me know. If not, I'll see you in 2 weeks' time for the next live stream. Thank you so much for attending. Again, I will sign off by saying that without your attendance, there is no live stream. So as long as you're able to attend, I really do appreciate that. You don't have to pay attention to the live stream. You can just put me to the side and then focus on something else and mute me. But your attendance is, critical, paramount to the live stream success. All right. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in 2 weeks' time.